ADHD and hypersexuality, they go hand in hand. When you are ADHD like myself, hypersexuality is kind of a side effect of being ADHD. And I want to share with you kind of what it is. I've dealt with both hyposexuality and hypersexuality when it comes to my ADHD, and I'm going to explain to you the differences with hypersexuality and what it's like and some of the things that you can do to actually help through it. If you're new to my channel, my name is Eric. I'm not a counselor. I'm not a doctor. I'm none of that. My name is Eric, and I am a recovering cocaine and alcoholic addict. I am diagnosed with ADHD, PTSD, GAD, and MDD. I lost a wife and a father to suicide, and I do my best to share all the tools and experiences that I can to make sure that nobody goes through life alone. If you haven't clicked the like and subscribe button, click that like and subscribe button, and let's do this together. So what is hypersexuality? So hypersexuality is an increased, heightened, almost out of your control sex drive. It essentially means that you can go from being just, hey, normal, hanging out, everything is good, everything's great, to your libido sex drive goes to just fucking 100 over just a second. And there's no reasoning even behind it. You can literally be sitting there, and next thing you know, your sex drive is full force, you are on, and it just engulfs your whole brain. It's one of the things that you do encounter with ADHD. It is sometimes difficult, especially if you have a partner or you're with somebody or you're dating somebody or you're married to somebody, because they have to be aware of when this hits. And if they aren't aware of when it hits, it can come off a little bit surprising and a little bit like, what the hell just happened? Because you can be at a party and next thing you know, you want to go have sex in the bathroom. I mean, that is part of what it's like. I mean, you can be sitting there watching TV and next thing you know, your clothes are getting ripped off and your partner who's ADHD, experienced hypersexuality, wants to have sex. And it's not in a violent manner, but it's in like a, hey, like, let's do this. Like, where's the foreplay at? You know, like, what's going on? Why are you all over me all of a sudden? That is hypersexuality. And it can be a little bit of a struggle, especially if there's not communication or understanding when it comes to it. So if you are dating somebody that is ADHD, you want to understand what hypersexuality is and how it can hit, and also some of the things that you can do, because a lot of times when we are hypersexual, especially with ADHD, our brain gets all over the place. We get very bored with things very quickly. And the worst thing for somebody with ADHD is you have that impulsiveness. So again, like at parties, next thing you know, you're having sex in the bathroom, you're having sex in the car, you're having sex in the restroom in restaurants, you're having sex in dressing rooms. I mean, it's something that is like, whoa. And if you are not a sexual person yourself and you are dating somebody that has hypersexuality, it can cause a lot of conflict in your relationship. And a lot of times, unfortunately, it's going to result in cheating. Because the person isn't necessarily, are they cheating on you? They're trying to fulfill this massive urge. And when you are impulsive, you don't think things through. So if an opportunity presents itself, you're a lot more likely to all of a sudden jump into this opportunity that can destroy or damage your relationship. So again, that's where open communication about hypersexuality comes into play. And you got to vocalize it with your partner. And it's not one of those things that it's cute or anything. It is literally a struggle. And it is a struggle that hits out of just, there's no rhyme or reason for it. There's no timing behind it. One of the things that you can do even to make sure that with the hypersexuality that the partner doesn't get bored or it doesn't get too much for you is you have to have some boundaries set, and you have to also be very open-minded. You have to be willing to change it up a little bit. You have to be willing to go out on a limb and even sometimes fulfill some of these fantasies or help even fulfill a little bit of the impulsiveness, because that keeps somebody fully engaged in that relationship. You probably have noticed with the person with ADHD, when you first started dating them, they were hyper-focused in on you. They were this miracle person that knew everything all of a sudden about you, and they were a great listener. And over time, it kind of dissolved. And next thing you know, you're getting hit with a lot of, wait, what did you say? And it's not that they're not listening. It's none of that. It's a lot has to do with how our brain works and what we're struggling with. So don't be thrown off by that, but you have to work with us a little bit. You have to compromise with us a little bit, and we have to learn to compromise with you some too. It's not just all on you, it's us also, and we know that. But also routine and making sure that needs are fulfilled are there. Sexual compatibility, I've found with ADHD, is extremely important. If you have that sexual compatibility, you know, life is great. And it can be a very fun and enjoyable relationship, but making sure that the compatibility is there is everything. So don't be afraid to talk about sex with your partner. Don't be able to talk about what you enjoy, what you don't enjoy, because it's something that your partner, especially if they're ADHD, wants to know, because of course sex is fun and it's enjoyable and we want our partner to enjoy it as much as we enjoy it, because on that hypersexuality side, it calms down our ADHD to an extent. It allows us to focus in on something. It allows us temporary relief from what's going on up here. It is something that we almost kind of thrive on sometimes. So be aware of just how your partner is, what they react to, and if there's any certain triggers that almost bring on the hypersexuality. Because there are certain things that can happen that next thing you know might have been innocent to you. If your partner's very sensitive to touch, and next thing you know, you're just happen to be touching their leg, and next thing you know, they're trying to get laid with you, and you're going, wait a minute, this isn't what I expected. You have to be aware of kind of their sensitivity spots and sensitivity to any kind of touch or any kind of kissing. Like for me, for example, mine is my neck. Like if somebody just kisses me on my neck and they don't mean it like in a sexual way, in a cuddly way, I'm sorry, it's on. I mean, that's how my hypersexuality works. And it is a bit of a struggle when it comes to that. But it's knowing those areas of your partner's body. It's knowing, you know, what to do and what you can and cannot do together that can make a relationship all of a sudden a little bit more of a challenge because of the hypersexuality. So, you know, it's nothing to be embarrassed about. It's nothing to feel that you're alone in. It's something that's actually very common when it comes to ADHD. And ADHD isn't even the only one. Bipolar also struggles with it. Anybody who has struggled with PTSD or even CPTSD can have hypersexuality. It's something that other mental illnesses also can struggle with. It's one of those, though, that's very common in ADHD because especially we throw in that hyperactivity where we just don't think anything through and we just jump in on it and we are extremely impulsive. Especially if we haven't taken our meds, next thing you know, we're extremely impulsive and you're going, wow, this is happening right now, apparently. So have that knowledge, have that understanding, and realize that, hey, this is kind of how your partner is. If you're not compatible in that aspect, don't be afraid to just end the relationship because you are the most important person. It's not a giving, it's a together thing in a relationship. So if the hypersexuality is something that you don't like and that's you're not comfortable with, don't be afraid to end a relationship. You know, you're more than a relationship. A relationship doesn't define you, you define you. So don't let this all of a sudden cause you to get out of even where your own comfort zone is. So be very, very aware of that you are the most important person in this. I mean, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. I mean, comment down below, hit that like and subscribe button, because the more that we share our experiences, the more that we share what we've been through, the more that nobody goes through life alone, and the more that nobody struggles with life alone. And when we do share this, you're able to fight through so much more and you have this understanding. I mean, if you click the description box, in the description, I have links to all my different social medias. I have links to the mental health Discord community. It's free peer-to-peer support. You know, just people helping people. I have links below to things on Amazon that I use, like fidget cubes, fidget spinners, things that I use for my anxiety. I have a link down below to BetterHelp because you know what? It's trial and error to find out what works for you. And what works for me may not work for you, and that's okay. But it's all about not giving up and pushing forward every single day to find what exactly does work for you. Because again, you're the most important person in the world, and it comes down to making sure that you yourself are taken care of. And this is one of the toughest places to take care of. But you matter, and you have to remember that every day that you matter, and that sometimes with mental illness, it is a struggle, but you're not a victim to it, and that you can work around it. You're a BAMF. You're a badass motherfucker. You made it through 100% of your worst days to make it through 2 today. And you know what? Together we got this. So don't ever give up, because you know what? You're worth that fight.